this might be too glamorous a look for Drag Race UK. Hey! Hi, dolls! It's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 5, Episode 3. And all I can say is, Episode 3, and there's this much drama? I may not be strong enough. But first, thanks to Kevin Harrigan for his lovely tipperdoo. I hope you're well, Kevin. And I'd like to welcome a brand new princess to the Fingerdoo family on Patreon, Erin Nix. Hey, Erin, I hope to see you at our next live chat. Oh, did I mention that we have 2 live chats a month on my Patreon? 2! And they're a hoot! If you'd like to join the Fingerdoo family on Patreon or leave a tipperdoo or get your own Wilma merch from my Redbubble store, the links are down below. And while we're talking about down below, I would also like to thank James Ryan and Mr. Segman, both of whom left me a tipperdoo with the thanks button that's located just under this screen. Thank you so much, dolls. Seriously. Now, Jorge, Teamy. There's ice cubes. There's ice cubes in my favorite teacup of my grandmother's. What's going on? Oh, it's iced tea. Oh, it's more like Coke Zero and a little tequila, I think. What are we going to call that? The grandmother Fingerdoo? I hate you, Jorge. So, after the Queen said a heartfelt farewell to the little Polish girl, Alexis St. Pete, and congratulated Banksy on her first win, and can I just take a moment to say how gorgeous Banksy's makeup is? Seriously, she made me look like I put mine on with a slingshot. Anyway, after all that, Dee Dee mentioned something about finally getting a critique. Well, finally. It was episode 2, Calm Down. To be fair, I don't remember much of what she said after that because I was so distracted by her nose contour. Look at that blend. Look at that fade. It's stunning for stage. It's way too dark for TV. Looks like Michelle's critique about her contour was on the nose. Tamara was complimented for her strong showing, or was it her butt showing? Whatever it was, it gave Kate Butch pause. So much so that she was having to rethink her opinion of her. I'm guessing it wasn't good. And then it came time to beat that dead horse, and I am not talking about that pink one from last week. No, I'm talking about that old nag Cara versus Tamara. Okay, grab your tea, because it's getting spilt. Banksy was the one that production got to bring up Ru asking Cara and Tamara WTF was that in the workroom in the first place. Both Cara and Tamara, they seemed to be over it. But then Vicky had to go ahead and get involved. I don't know why. No one was talking to her, but when she heard Cara say she wasn't going to hold it against Tamara, Vicky piped right up and said that, well, there wasn't anything to hold against her. Well, Cara got this look in her eye and this tone in her voice like she was trying to explain something to a child and said something about Tamara being oblivious. Well, I'd like to think that Tamara felt she'd said enough because she just kept her money well spent lips shut. But let's be honest, this queen should not play poker. Look at her reacting to Cara's comments, and I'm not the only one who noticed. So did Banksy, and she said as much. Tamara tried to play it off as Banksy trying to cause trouble by stirring the pot, because she's a shady lady. Personally, I think Banksy's on a repeater badge high. The next day in the workroom, Miss Naomi Carter revealed that the medic had told her to take it easy. Apparently, she'd injured herself horsing around with Miss Dee Dee. Not like that, not like that. No, in her euphoria over not sashaying, Naomi and Dee Dee celebrated with a running tit bang. Naomi's words, not mine. And Naomi injured her knee. Let that be a lesson to you baby queens out there. Be careful. Take care of yourself, especially during a contest. Also, Chest Bump was my drag king name in high school. Thankfully, Ru showed up with this week's Maxi Challenge, girl groups, and there was great rejoicing. The queens would be living out their girl group fantasy by performing their own lyrics and creating their own choreography to the song, Don't Ick My Yum. I thought Ru had said, don't lick my bum. Just me? Ginger Johnson seemed to be the only one without a girl group fantasy. Do we think that's because her drag skews, shall we say, a little more mature? Could she feel too old for a girl group? Well, I'd like to remind everyone that even the Andrews sisters were a girl group, say that. And if you don't know who the Andrews sisters are, we can't be friends. And then Ru let the queens split themselves into two groups. This always goes well. Inevitably, one or two queens get shunned and we have to deal with their sour gobs for the rest of the episode, which was the case here. Immediately, there was a free-for-all as the queens tried to grab friends, or better yet, talented queens to be in a group with. And the grabbiest queens seemed to be Michael Maruli, Cara Mel, Dee Delicious, and Tamara Thomas. They practically pushed the other queens away by their faces. They were so hell-bent on being on the same team. Rude! Needless to say, Kate, Butch, Banksy, Miss Naomi Carter, and Ginger Johnson had a gob on them. Clearly, the other queens saw them as less than and forced them into their own group. Some took the news better than others. I'll let you decide who. Before they got down to it, the newly anointed brunch queens, Dee Dee, Tamara, Michael, Cara, and Vicky, had a quick little gloat over not getting stuck in the other group, who they decided to call the leftovers. Okay, it was Michael who called them that, but then she very quickly pointed out that the leftovers were also all the comedy queens, and you can't underestimate a comedy queen. Well, not all of them at any rate. Over on Team Meal Deal, aka the leftovers, there are a few salty feelings over how dismissively the four of them were shunned by the other queens, but Ginger put lipstick on that pig of a situation by reminding the queens that Ru likes to fake laugh, so they were going to just go for it. And it seems like they weren't at a loss for inspiration. Kate Butch admitted to the others that most of what gives her the ick was on the other team, as well as a few disjointed ones like the musical Kinky Boots, as well as Amanda Holden and Escalators. At the same time, after giving the song a little listen, the brunch queens decided to rename themselves something warm and cuddly. Thus, the Fierce Force 5 were born, and like any birth, there's a lot of yelling and screaming, just saying. Not to be outdone by the Fierce Force 5, the leftovers decided, because they're all northern, to name themselves after the main motorway in that region, the M52. And thus, like the B-52s before them, the M52s were born, while the bandmates remained seated, and with much less yelling. The yelling they saved for the recording session with Michelle Visage and vocal producer Ian Masters. Vocal producer? Is that what they call the guy that turns on the auto-tune? Oh, yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. There was no need for auto-tune where the members of Fierce Force 5 were concerned until they got to Cara Mel, bless. I don't know if it was another excuse or what, but she did bring up going through puberty again, and since she is on hormones, I'm going to cut her some slack, especially since she was actually able to hit the notes in the end. But thank goodness Ian was there. As for the M52s, I felt they did way better. There were some diction issues where Miss Carter was concerned, but she got through it. I said diction. And then it was time for everyone's favorite choreography. Cara Mel took no prisoners over on Fierce Force 5. She was choreographing this mother, and there weren't no one going to tell her different. And for the most part, I think she did a good job. Lucky for her, the other queens could keep up, mostly. There were a few moments where Cara had to get tough with the other group over their mistakes. Okay, Tamara. But something tells me these two won't be done fighting. Ever. The M52s weren't very impressed with F-Cube's slick pussycat doll moves. They were too busy being jealous, and for good reason. Naomi still had to take it easy on her injured knee, which really limited their choreography options. Fierce Force 5 were okay with that. Someone who was not okay with that was Ginger Johnson. She was starting to see why none of the Triple Fs wanted to work with them. Well, better late than never. The next day, before the queens got ready for the runway, Naomi revealed that the M52s had solved her worrisome mobility problems with a sofa. How? Was she going to just take a nap while the rest of the group performed? No. She was going to perform on the sofa. On stage. What fun! To me, it didn't look like the Triple Fs were buying it. They weren't alone. While the queens were getting ready, Cara talked about how pop music had led her to drag, which led her to questioning whether she was a man in drag or a woman in drag. It was a fabulous monologue that I hope reached people out there, young and old, who may be struggling with these feelings as well, and don't have anyone to turn to. Here's to Cara Mel. Seriously, and all our trans brothers and sisters out there. We love you, babies, seriously. And then it was time for the runway. Ru surprised me. I don't think I've ever disliked a runway look of hers as much as this one, and I'm blaming it on the wig. Am I the only one who's missing Delta Works wigs? Speaking of wigs, Michelle seemed to have a toilet brush on the top of her head, which was a nice distraction from that sofa slip cover she had on. And Graham Norton was working the hell out of that pink ruffled shirt. Joining them this week at the judges' table, looking all kinds of adorable, was pop icon Sophie Ellis-Bextor. Up first, Don't Ick My Yaman. Can I just say, I am so glad I did not hate this song. And can I also say, I'm so glad that Fierce Force 5 went first. They killed this number. Everyone did a good job. I didn't notice anyone missing a step or a lip sync. Not to say they were perfect. Poor Vicky Vivacious seemed to be the dimmest bulb on that tree, which surprised me. She's such a confident performer who's been on the West End in Priscilla. I was expecting a bit more from her here. Someone who surprised the hell out of me was Dee Delicious. Not that I've been hating Dee Dee, but let's be honest, she hasn't made liking her very easy so far. But did everyone else notice how funny she was during this number? Her trying to do that chicken wing leg thing here almost killed me, I'm so serious. All in all, Fierce Force 5 didn't make it easy for the M52s is all I'm saying. Especially when they all ended the number in the splits. Show-offs. Needless to say, the M52s were pooping their panties backstage where they had been watching the other group. Still, the show must go on, and with Miss Naomi Carter firmly planted on the sofa, the M52s took the stage. I must admit, I wasn't expecting much from this group, but they surprised the hell out of me. Everyone did a good job. They were camp and fun, and the sofa wasn't too much of a distraction. Were they as much fun to watch as the first group? Yeah. Were they better? No. Just different. Seriously. One thing I will say is that Kate Butch surprised the hell out of me. No offense to her, but like Ginger Johnson, drag usually skews a little older on her. That was not the case here. Not only did I like what she was wearing, but Kate's rocking a tight little bod under those hand-knit jumpers. And her padding is gorgeous. I see you, Kate Butch. And then it was time for the runway. Category is Night of 1,000 Pop Stars. Vicky Vivacious was first, paying homage to Freddie Mercury. As simple as this look was, I liked it. It was just that right balance between drag and impersonation. Fingerdoo for Vicky. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Dee Dee had my fave look of the night. This ode to Nicki Minaj was brilliant, and the fact that she most likely made this herself impressed the hell out of me. Seriously, Dee Dee. That queen of Fingerdoo. Caramel's Beyonce was another runway that I thought was too simple off the top, but seriously, what more could she do with it? Plus, the way this queen serves face, I'll admit, I'd love to see her wear a bit more makeup. Hell, even Sophie Ellis-Bextor had on more makeup, or maybe I'm just jealous that she doesn't need it. Either way, give that queen a Fingerdoo too. I love Tamara Thomas's Elvis. My only complaint was that the suit didn't fit her better. She could have really rocked this look with tighter pant legs and flouncier flares. Still worth a Fingerdoo, I'm so serious. And yes, Flouncy Flair was my drag queen name in high school. Then Michael Maruli shocked the hell out of me with my new favorite runway of the evening, all the Spice Girls in one big zombie apocalypse. Spicenstein, I think is what Michael called it. This look was inspired. This look was original. This look totally got a Fingerdoo. Well done, Michael Maruli, seriously. Then Banksy blinded me with the eleganza of my new favorite runway of the evening. I'll just go ahead and say it. Banksy's ode to David Bowie was so perfect, I almost cried. This was art at its highest compliment. Fingerdoo for Banksy, seriously. Find out who made that. It's gorgeous. Miss Naomi Carter's Beyonce was beautiful. I'm just sorry that she followed Michael and Banksy because this is another runway that seemed oversimplified. Don't get me wrong, Naomi looked gorgeous and that mug was stamped. And even though I would have liked to have seen a little more, I liked what I saw, so I gave it a Fingerdoo. Seriously. I had no idea who Ginger was paying homage to until she said Elton John, and then I got it. I think I would have got it earlier if she'd been wearing big sunglasses off the top. I understand why she didn't, but still, it didn't stop me from giving her a Fingerdoo because, well, that wig was everything. Last but not least was the world's newest pop princess Kate Butch, serving up some classic Shania Twain leopardy realness. I love this look, and not because I'm Canadian, but that wig, ugh, I hated it. Still, Miss Butch sold the hell out of this look with her rocket scientist and race car driver props, so much so that she and Sophie Ellis-Bextor had a charming back and forth that I'm sure has solidified their soon-to-be lifelong friendship. So, Fingerdoo for Kate Butch. And speaking of Sophie Ellis-Bextor, I hope that they have her back as a guest judge. She was so funny and quick, she even impressed Graham Norton. Here's to Miss Ellis-Bextor. Adorbs. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Ru told the M52s that they were safe, which must have been a huge relief to Miss Naomi Carter at any rate, so they all frigged off to the workroom. Of course, this freak, the Fierce Force 5, out. Were two of them worse than the M52s? Ru, say it isn't so. Well, it wasn't. As soon as the safe queens frigged off, Ru announced that Fierce Force 5 were the winning girl group of the season. But with that said, Ru was only going to award one Ru Peter badge, which meant that now the top two queens were going to lip sync for their life. So, who was that going to be? Vicky Vivacious was up for critique first, and although the judges all loved her runway, Michelle said that her energy level didn't really match the rest of the group during the number, and although Graham agreed, he was very impressed with Miss Vivacious's singing skills. Dee Licious was another killer on the runway as far as the judges were concerned, and her performance in the girl group was super fun to watch, but Michelle was distracted by Dee Dee's nose contour. She's not the only one. Caramel was next, and right off the top, Michelle complimented her on pushing through the recording session. She also complimented her choreography because she was so in the zone. In fact, all the judges agreed that they could tell Cara was the choreographer. Graham even said it felt like Caramel and Friends, which the rest of the queens loved hearing. Tamara was another one the judges agreed killed this challenge. She was giving everyone the girl group feels, but Michelle was underwhelmed with her runway. Graham wished it had just been a little more drag. It's covered in rhinestones. How more drag could it be? Last but not least was Michael Maruli, and the only thing anyone could say on a negative level was that, well, she put too much glitter on her chest for the girl group number. But all that was forgiven with her runway. Everyone was blown away with how iconic it was, and none more than Sophie Ellis-Bextor. My fave moment was Michael telling Sophie that she was a big fan. Then, quick as a wink, Sophie asked Michael why she didn't come as her then. Seriously, World of Wonder, have this girl back as a judge. Meanwhile, back in the workroom, the safe queens were having a well-deserved celebration cocktail. Although they didn't beat out the other group, who all did the splits, they were happy with the outcome more or less. As for the Fierce Force 5, because they were the winning team, there was not a gob to be seen. Well, except for Tamara, who was getting kind of tired of Dee Dee feeling her oats. And why shouldn't Dee Dee? It was a good week for her. Well done, Dee Dee. Vicky asked the winning team how they felt about only one queen getting a Ru Peter badge, and that was only after they lip-synced for it. As we all know, in the past, the winning team all got badges. Publicly, the winning team queens said they were fine with it. Not, bless. And finally, the winning queens wanted to know if Banksy's lyrics about face full of filler and enormous egos was a read. Could they tell? Back on the main stage, this week's winning queens were Caramel and Tamara Thomas. I guess this is as close as World of Wonder could get at this early stage of the game to put these two queens against each other without fear of either of them going home. Yet. This lip sync had epic battle written all over it. Both queens can dance, both queens are stunning, and both queens have been close to slapping the holy hell out of each other. No one could wait to see how this was going to turn out. The queens lip-synced to Remember by Becky Hill and David Guetta. What, they couldn't afford a Sophie Ellis-Bextor song? As expected, both queens threw it down. Tamara got rid of her Elvis jacket and unpinned her updo early, and I have to say, I liked her outfit a whole lot more after she did that. Cara, on the other hand, seemed to fight with her headpiece. Apparently there were complaints. Until she got rid of it. Too bad she didn't do it earlier. It's not that it held her back. She just seemed able to move more freely after she did. And good thing too, because Tamara gave her a run for her money. Move for move, I thought these queens were evenly matched. They even knew their lyrics. They both emoted at the right feels, and Cara even gave us the always celebrated jump split, which may have been the tipping point, because when the music died, Ru announced that Caramel was this week's winner and that Tamara was safe to slay another day. Well, what do you think? Did Cara do a better job in the lip sync than Tamara? How about Dee Dee? Should she have been in the top 2? And if so, who should she have replaced? And what about Miss Naomi Carter? Is that knee on the mend, or is it going to cause her to sashay away? All we can do is to tune into RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 5, Episode 4 to see how it all turns out. And when you're done, you come on back and you see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, please do give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Hit that little notification bell as well, and check out the links in my description box for other ways to support the Fingerdoo review. Until next time, be kind, be healthy, don't take any wooden nickels, and miss me! Mwah! Seriously, Jorge. I don't know if I'm enjoying a cocktail in a teacup. The nice thing is when I spill, I get some back. It's nice, I like that. I don't know. Clearly they're setting us up to see these two roommates battle it out on a dance floor, and I'm wondering if on one level, World of Wonder kind of forced it in early, too early. Episode 3 and the roommate battle hits the lip sync. I don't know. But then the other side of that coin is that neither of them could possibly end up being in the bottom enough to lip sync. Although if anyone was going to be, it would be Cara. She'd been there already. I'm sad.